Foundation. Foundation. Professional competencies utilizing ASCA school counselor competencies and ASCA ethical standards for school counselors to guide decision-making and help standardize professional practice to protect students and school counselors. Management. Delivery. Delivery. Indirect student service provided on behalf of the student to include collaborations, referrals for additional assistance and consultation. Accountability. Through analysis of school counseling program data, school counselors measure differences in students' behavior, achievement, and attendance to illustrate the value and impact of a CSCP as well as to guide future action and improve results for all students. Leadership. Involves delegation, collaboration, and positive communication with all members of the team in order to ensure the success of all students. The school counselor will monitor all subordinate staff, along with leading by example. Advocacy. Collaboration. School counselors should identify stakeholders within the school as well as outside in the community. The counselor will use communication and teamwork with these stakeholders to gather data, analyze the data, and work together to meet the needs of the students. Systemic change. Theme. School counselors will examine policies and procedures, use research methods, and examine data to keep the program current and efficient. Collaborative dependent. Triadic dependent, three-person relationship with consultant indirectly bringing about change in the student through direct services with the consultee, usually the parent or teacher. The consultant is contributing expertise. Collaborative dependent, the constant facilitates the problem-solving process while establishing mutual goals and agreed on interventions with the consultee who then delivers the intervention. Both the consultant and consultee are contributing expertise. Collaborative independent, team approach with consultant facilitating the process as well as contributing expertise as one of its members. Modes of consultation. Prescription provision, invitation, collaboration, mediation. Rational emotive behavior therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy in which clients are directly challenged in their irrational beliefs and help to restructure their thinking into more rational belief statements. REBT. Reality therapy, treatment that emphasizes personal responsibility for actions and their consequences. William Glasser, founder of reality therapy. Reality therapy. We make our own choices that guide our path. Reality therapy is a form of counseling that views behaviors as choices. It states that psychological symptoms occur not because of mental illness, but due to people irresponsibly choosing behaviors to fulfill their needs. Cognitive behavioral therapy, a popular integrative therapy that combines cognitive therapy with behavior therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a form of psychotherapy that focuses on modifying dysfunctional emotions, behaviors, and thoughts by interrogating and uprooting negative or irrational beliefs. Aaron Beck, father of cognitive therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy focuses on present circumstance and emotions in real time as opposed to childhood events. Psychoanalytical therapy, studying unconscious therapy to make you aware of unconscious thoughts. Psychoanalytical therapy, founder is Sigmund Freud. Erik Erikson, Neo-Freudian, Humanistic, 8 Psychosocial Stages of Development theory shows how people evolve through the lifespan. Each stage is marked by a psychological crisis that involves confronting who am I? Trust versus mistrust stage, Erikson stage in the first year of life where infants decide whether the world is friendly or hostile. They decide depending on whether they can trust that their basic needs will be met. If successful, the result is trust and hopefulness. Autonomy versus shame and doubt stage, the period during which toddlers develop independence and autonomy if they are allowed the freedom to explore, or shame and self-doubt if they are restricted and overprotected. Initiative versus guilt stage, the period during which children experience conflict between independence of action and the sometimes negative results of that action. Industry versus inferiority. Erikson's stage between 6 and 11 years, when the child learns to be productive. Identity versus role confusion. Erikson's stage during which teenagers and young adults search for and become their true selves. Intimacy versus isolation. Erikson's stage in which individuals form deeply personal relationships, marry, begin families. Gravity versus stagnation. Stage through middle adulthood, where the middle-aged discover a sense of contribution to the world, usually through family and jobs, or else they may feel a lack of purpose. Ego-integrity versus despair. People in late adulthood either achieve a sense of integrity of the self by accepting the lives they have lived, or yield to despair that their lives cannot be relived. Individual psychology. The main motives of human thought and behavior are individual man striving for superiority and power, partly in compensation for his feeling of inferiority. Individual psychology. Adler's view that people are motivated by purposes and goals, and that perfection, not pleasure, is thus the key motivator in human life. Stages of group development: forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. Forming stage, the first stage of group development in which people join the group and then define the group's purpose, structure, and leadership. Storming stage, the second stage in group development characterized by intergroup conflict. Norming stage, the third stage in group development characterized by close relationships and cohesiveness. Performing stage, the fourth stage of group development when the group is fully functional and works on group tasks. Adjourning stage, the final stage in group development for temporary groups, characterized by concern with wrapping up activities rather than task performance. Albert Adler, father of individual psychology. Jean Piaget, 4-stage theory of cognitive development: 1 sensory motor, 2 pre-operational, 3 concrete operational, and 4 formal operational. He said that the 2 basic processes work in tandem to achieve cognitive growth: assimilation and accommodation. Sensory motor describes Piaget's stage in which the child explores the world through interaction of his mouth and hands with the environment. Pre-operational stage, in Piaget's theory, the stage during which a child learns to use language but does not yet comprehend the mental operations of concrete logic. Concrete operational stage, in Piaget's theory, the stage of cognitive development during which children gain the mental operations that enable them to think logically about concrete events. Formal operational stage, in Piaget's theory, the stage of cognitive development during which people begin to think logically about abstract concepts. Piaget's theory of cognitive development: infants and children actively try to organize and make sense of their world. Freud's psychosexual stages: oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency stage, genital stage. Oral stage, Freud's first stage of psychosexual development during which pleasure is centered in the mouth. Anal stage, Freud's psychosexual period during which a child learns to control his bodily excretions. Phallic stage, Freud's third stage of development when the penis becomes the focus of concern and pleasure. Latency stage, the fourth psychosexual stage in which the primary focus is on the further development of intellectual, creative, interpersonal, and athletic skills. Genital stage, Freud's last stage of personality development from the onset of puberty through adulthood, during which the sexual conflicts of childhood resurface and are often resolved during adolescence. Maslow's hierarchy of needs: 1. Physiological. 2. Safety. 3. Love and belonging. 4. Self-esteem. 5. Self-actualization. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, the approach that emphasizes how cognitive development proceeds as a result of social interactions between members of a culture. Vygotsky's theory, a sociocultural cognitive theory that emphasizes how culture and social interaction guide cognitive development. Zone of proximal development. In Vygotsky's theory, the range between children's present level of knowledge and their potential knowledge state if they receive proper guidance and instruction. Kohlberg's theory of moral development: pre-conventional, conventional, post-conventional. Kohlberg's theory, moral development. Pre-conventional stage, a stage of moral development in which the morality of an action is primarily determined by its consequences for the actor. Conventional stage, a stage of moral development in which the morality of an action is primarily determined by the extent to which it conforms to social rules. Post-conventional stage, a stage of moral development in which the morality of an action is determined by a set of general principles that reflect core values. Trait and factor theory. Occupational decision-making occurs when a person has an accurate understanding of their traits, a knowledge of jobs and the labor market, and objective judgment about the relationship between their individual traits and the labor market. X. True colors. John Holland, Career Personality Approach. Holland's personality type theory: realistic, intellectual, social, conventional, enterprising, artistic. Holland's theory: vocational choice is based on a match between personality type and work environment. Super's career development theory states that there are 5 stages to career development: growth, birth, 15 years exploration, 15 to 24 years establishment, 25 to 44 years maintenance, 45 to 64 years decline, greater than 65 years. Albert Bandura, pioneer in observational learning, stated that people profit from the mistake successes of others. Studies: Bobo dolls. Adults demonstrated appropriate play with dolls. Children mimic play. Social learning theory: the theory that we learn social behavior by observing and imitating and by being rewarded or punished. Cognitive therapy: therapy that teaches people new, more adaptive ways of thinking and acting based on the assumption that thoughts intervene between events and our emotional reactions. Gestalt therapy: therapy that aims to integrate different and sometimes opposing aspects of personality into a unified sense of self. Gestalt therapy: formative insight therapy in which the therapist helps clients to accept all parts of their feelings and subjective experiences using leading questions and planned experiences such as role-playing. Carl Rogers, 1902 to 1987. Field: humanistic contributions, founded person-centered therapy, theory that emphasizes the unique quality of humans, especially their freedom and potential for personal growth, unconditional positive regard, fully functioning person. Person-centered therapy, a non-directive insight therapy based on the work of Carl Rogers in which the client does all the talking and the therapist listens. Congruence: agreement, harmony, or correspondence. Incongruence: the degree of disparity between one's self-concept and one's actual experience. Adler's theory of individual psychology: that we are motivated by our goals in life, especially goals to achieve security and overcome feelings of inferiority. Pavlov, physiologist that believed human actions were often unconscious reactions to experience. Classical conditioning, a type of learning in which one learns to link two or more stimuli and anticipate events. Stimulus generalization, the tendency to respond to a stimulus that is only similar to the original conditioned stimulus with a conditioned response. Conditioned response, a learned response to a previously neutral stimulus. B.F. Skinner, behaviorist that developed the theory of operant conditioning by training pigeons and rats. Learning theories. Theories that focus on increasing employee motivation and performance by linking the outcomes that employees receive to the performance of desired behaviors and the attainment of goals. Skinner's operant conditioning development consists of the pattern of behavioral changes that are brought about by rewards and punishments. Punishment, an event that decreases the behavior that it follows. Reinforcement, in operant conditioning, any event that strengthens the behavior it follows. Positive reinforcement, increasing behaviors by presenting positive stimuli such as food. A positive reinforcer is any stimulus that, when presented after a response, strengthens the response. Negative reinforcement, increasing behaviors by stopping or reducing negative stimuli such as shock. A negative reinforcer is any stimulus that, when removed after a response, strengthens the response. Formative assessment, assessment used throughout teaching of a lesson and or unit to gauge students' understanding and inform and guide teaching. Summative assessment, testing that follows instruction and assesses achievement. Criterion referenced assessments, an assessment procedure in which a student's performance is compared to a particular level of mastery. Norm referenced assessments, standardized tests compare pupil to other individuals of similar age, percent ranks and grades. Criterion referenced scores, provide no information about how an individual's score compares with others' scores, for example, percent correct and raw score. Types of validity, content, criterion, construct. Content validity, the extent to which a test samples the behavior that is of interest. Criterion validity, the extent to which a measure is related to an outcome. Construct validity, the degree to which a test measures what it claims or purports to be measuring. Types of reliability, test, retest, iterator, internal consistency. Test-retest reliability, a method for determining the reliability of a test by comparing a test taker's scores on the same test taken on separate occasions. Iterator reliability, a measure of how similarly two different test scores would score a test. Internal consistency, a measure of reliability, the degree to which a test yields similar scores across its different parts, such as on odd versus even items. Standard scores, scores based on the standard deviation. Standard deviation, a computed measure of how much scores vary around the mean score. Mean, average. Mode, the most frequently occurring score in a distribution. Median, the middle score in a distribution, half the scores are above it and half are below it. Normal distribution, a function that represents the distribution of variables as a symmetrical bell-shaped graph. Types of standardized tests, achievement, aptitude, ability. Achievement test, a test designed to assess what a person has learned. Aptitude test, a test designed to predict a person's future performance. Aptitude is the capacity to learn. Ability tests, measure physical abilities, strength and stamina, mechanical ability, mental abilities, and clerical abilities. ASCA Code of Ethics. 1. Duties to students. 2. Duties to parents. 3. Duties to colleagues and professional associates. 4. Duties to the school and region. 5. Duties to self. 6. Duties to the profession. 7. Adherence to standards. 8. Resource materials. ASCA Code of Ethics. 1. Autonomy, ability to make independent decisions. 2. Justice, fair and appropriate treatment. 3. Benefits, services and actions in students' best interest. 4. Fidelity, honor, loyalty and faithful commitment to student. 5. Non-malfeasance, avoiding actions and services that would cause harm. Autonomy, independence. Justice, fairness, rightfulness. Benefits, action that is done for the benefit of others. Non-maleficence, duty to do no harm. Fidelity, faithfulness, loyalty. Confidentiality, the act of holding information in confidence not to be released to unauthorized individuals. Transactional analysis, treatment that focuses on patterns of interaction with others, especially patterns that indicate personal problems. Transactional analysis therapy, psychological theory developed by Eric Berne in the 1960s that helps explain why we think, act and feel the way we do. Transactional analysis, we all have 3 ego states, we all have transactions, we all activate our ego states in our transactions, which can lead to conflict, negative emotions, pain, etc. Eric Berne, father of transactional analysis, suggested the group is held together by a bond between the leader and the group members. Solution-focused brief therapy. Carl Jung, 1875–1961, Field, Neo-Freudian, Analytic Psychology, Contributions, People had conscious and unconscious awareness, Archetypes, Collective unconscious, Libido is all types of energy, not just sexual, Studies, Dream Studies, Interpretation. Therapeutic relationship, when the relationship between the carer and the cared for is used for promoting or restoring the health and well-being of people within the relationship. Family systems theory, a theory that views the family as a system of interacting parts whose interactions exhibit consistent patterns and unstated rules. Family systems theory views the family as a functioning unit that solves problems, makes decisions, and achieves collective goals. Family constellation. The social and psychological structure of the family system includes birth order, the individual's perception of self, sibling characteristics and ratings, and parental relationships. Each person forms his or her unique view of self, others, and life through the family constellation. Systems theory approach. The family as a unit interacts with larger units outside the family and with smaller units inside the family. Existential therapy, a therapy that encourages clients to accept responsibility for their lives and to live with greater meaning and value. Gestalt theory, a theory based on the idea that the whole of personal experience is different from simply the sum of its constituent elements. Holistic education, a label for educational approaches that attempt to remedy what is seen as the failure of traditional education to educate the whole brain, especially the right hemisphere, which is speculatively linked with music, art, and emotion. Gestalt therapy. Gestalt therapy was developed by psychotherapist Fritz Perls on the principle that humans are best viewed as a whole entity consisting of body, mind, and soul, and best understood when viewed through their own eyes, not by looking back into the past but by bringing the past into the present. Jungian therapy is an in-depth, analytical form of talk therapy designed to bring together the conscious and unconscious parts of the mind to help a person feel balanced and whole. Person-centered therapy. Person-centered therapy. Person-centered therapy. Solution-focused brief therapy.